Greetings once again, folks. Right, so we are making progress with our Chapman's Peak piece, and we continue. So this is the second session. Right, if you've just joined us, welcome, and hope you enjoy the process. And if you're new to my channel, then again welcome, and do, if you enjoy what you see, do hit the subscribe button, the bell icon, so that you get notifications of any future uploads, and comment if you will. By all means, comment and share, like, and all that stuff. Anyway, without further ado, let's have at it. So we've set the composition so far, working in primarily in charcoal to begin with, and then adding a little highlighted areas with white chalk pastel, color in chalk pastel as well. We've used a little bit of Conte as well. So yeah, so let's continue. Where we stopped? Where should we stop? Let's assess. Okay, we're going to continue just filling in the rest of the top section over there. If I can find my charcoal, the one I was using. Do I? Can I? May I? Goodness me. All right. Fine. Have it that way. It seems to have just vanished into thin air. So now I shall have to just pick a new one. Oh, amazing. It just disappeared just like that. I don't know what I was doing yesterday that it suddenly disappeared. So here we go. New piece. Right. These things happen, and I wasn't prepared for that. But nevertheless, I don't like to be prepared. I don't sit and prep for these sessions. I walk in, start the camera rolling, and just continue. I don't like to be preempting anything. I like to sort of assess and observe as I go, because that's the whole objective of these exercises, of these sessions. It's about observation. So it's about perhaps seeing something new that I missed out on previously, and oh, there it is. It's just got shorter, that's all. All of this work yesterday, no wonder I didn't see it. Okay, so yeah, there's always a new day, a new moment brings something fresh to observe and pay attention to, that perhaps wasn't there yesterday or in the moment past. I'm not particularly keen on putting the road in the actual road. Chapman's Peak Drive winds its way around these precipices, and it kind of goes somewhere up there. But I'm not keen to sort of depict it. It's not about that. It's about the view, the vantage point, the looking down onto the ocean rather than looking out over it. So it's a completely different perspective. This yawning chasm of well, it's not chasm, but it's a yawning space, void, seems to be way down to the ocean, where you can just hear the waves crashing against the bottom end of the bottom side of the cliff. So there's all those kind of sounds. There's a hush otherwise. There's the sound of wind, and occasionally you'll get the sound of a vehicle passing along Chapman's Peak Drive. Usually sightseers, but it's there's a quiet up here all the way across the bay towards Hout Bay. You're looking. This is Hout Bay, but it extends way across, and we're kind of looking. We're looking more out towards the ocean here, further in the distance, towards the Atlantic. But this is the Bay of Hout. And a couple of kilometers away is Hout Bay itself, the town, the port, and you can hear nothing of that. It's just this openness, this vastness of space. It's very difficult to describe unless you've actually been there, and perhaps even been there recently, because we get so caught up in the humdrum of life, of doing things in our own little space, we forget the openness of these sort of places, how vast they are. Very easy to forget. Anyway, yeah. So, working in charcoal at this point, and as I was explaining during the last session, this piece and nearly all of my other pieces that I work on during my Artsy Musings sessions are mixed medium charcoal and chalk pastel primarily. I normally throw in some Conte crayon work, black and white, and also occasionally some acrylic, usually just white. So this is my kind of staple artwork, and I will occasionally do an acrylic on canvas piece as well. Etc. etc. Yeah, so fairly simplistic in essence. I kind of like the more simple pieces. I don't like a great deal of detail, and even though it might have that appearance of detail, it's fairly sketchy and rough when it comes down to it, when you get up close where I am, and I enjoy working that way. And then as you step further back away from the artwork, it starts. It's a strange kind of phenomenon that it actually sort of begins to appear more detailed from afar, but the closer you come to it, the more you realize how little detail there is, and I enjoy that kind of illusion. That kind of illusion of detail, because everything is an illusion, really. Nothing is as it seems in life. So yeah, I like those little subtle observations, and that's how we do life, isn't it? We do life without actually considering what is entailed, what we're doing, why we're doing it, etc. We just do it. Are we really being it though? That's the real question we should be asking ourselves every day. How are we being? I'm just using these kind of straight lines, little sketchy straight lines, to kind of start to work with the general kind of almost pattern of these rocks as they shear down towards the base of the cliff, and then kind of start to level off as it meets as it meets the ocean over here, right at the very base. So I just want to illustrate almost stylistically with these lines. There's a story to this, and try and look at depicting that almost, well, yes, graphically, but almost in the abstract a little bit. Take a section of that, you won't have a clue what it is, but in the whole, the abstract takes on form and meaning and more the literal interpretation, whereas close up, just like I said, where there's less detail close up, it becomes more abstract. Which begs the question, is abstract the absence of detail? Abstract realism, I don't know. So all these little scratchy marks eventually take on some kind of semblance of form and meaning and purpose and whatnot. Right, enough of that. Let's start to work with some white Conte. Now, Conte crayon, for me these are like gold, because I've worked with these, wow, many times over the years. And my dad used to have a set of these, looks like this, and a little is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 in a little plastic container. My dad used to have these, and that little set there, and I think there's one other, were his, and from goodness me, 3 decades ago at least, perhaps even longer, and in fact longer, 4 decades ago. And then I, in my early days of Technicon, studying first of all interior design, and then later on graphic design and so on, these I used to use quite a bit, especially with figure drawing and so on, primarily. An interesting composition, not quite as soft and chalky as pastel, but not chalky as chalk pastel or soft pastel, but also not as they're not as waxy as crayons, somewhere in between there, and they've got a lovely texture, and they're kind of an in-between white, the white, but where it in application they're not as white as white pastel, for example. So it gives you, and you can actually create some quite nice line work with it, quite fine line work actually, given that it's a square piece of crayon. Yes, so nothing like the wax crayons that kids use at school. And nothing like the same price either. They are, to me, very difficult to find this what is Conte à Paris, if that's the correct pronunciation. I don't profess to be able to speak French in any way, but these are French, and the originals. This set is of the same. That is so old, and you can very seldom find it, especially in South Africa these days. The real thing. Conte of Paris. So really nice to have a set of these. Thank you, Sister Robin, for bringing out some new Conte crayons for me, amongst other materials, such as another thing which is like hen's teeth and hugely expensive if you can find them here is the compressed charcoal, which is basically charcoal sticks that have been powdered and then compressed to form a very, very dark black pastel type of thing. So charcoal sticks, for those of you who don't know, who might be interested in some useless information. Charcoal sticks, you can actually make them yourself, and I've tried making them myself before, not very successfully, but it is possible, and I should continue to do so. It's basically and the best wood to use for charcoal is willow. And so what happens is twigs of the willow are taken and then dried somewhat, and then sealed into a tin or a container. I guess the art suppliers or the art supply manufacturers have ovens for these kind of things, and so they're sealed in a container and then baked, essentially. So the twigs within the container, because it's sealed, they bake dark into charcoal, but they don't burn. If there was oxygen within, they would simply burn up like twigs on a fire and disintegrate. And these form these little sticks like this, and then they're broken up or cut up, I suppose, beforehand into lengths, and that's how they come. With all sometimes they have little nodes on them from extra other little twigs that broke or other little twigs or whatever on there. Yeah, so qualities differ as well. I suppose maybe some manufacturers don't use willow, they use some other type of tree or something. I don't know. But anyway, willow is usually the best consistency and softness and darkness of black, because you get so many with different grades, you get different colorings of black. You get a brownish black, and you get a bluish black, and so on and so forth. So it's interesting, nevertheless, that you do get this variety according to according to brands and manufacturers, and also the quality of their supplies, of their stock. Sometimes you just get a dud batch. In any case, it's all, you know, that's, I guess, quality control. But nevertheless, the good brands, and I don't have one at hand now to tell you what a good brand is. Goodness me, I seem to have misplaced the boxes. Anywho, oh, there is that one. Nope. Sorry, I'm going out of picture here. Okay, nevertheless, I know that Faber-Castell does do the compressed charcoal, etc. But I forget what the brand, a good brand of willow charcoal is. Doesn't matter. So slowly building up the contrast here. Now I'll be using my compressed charcoal as well. Not just yet though. Way to go with this piece. Quite a way to go. But yes, I've got the getting the effect that I'm looking for here. Just as I scribble away, I'm literally just doodling. That's why I always say don't forget to doodle, because doodling is important. Doodling is almost, it's like mindless drawing, mindless sketching. And when it comes down to brass tacks, when we admit or deny the fact that we might be artistic, most of us actually deny it. But I believe and maintain that all of us are creative, and all of us have a capacity for anything that we might apply ourselves to. It's just our minds that limit us. Our minds and our conditioning, social conditioning, etc., etc., etc. So sometimes kids are discouraged from pursuing anything artistic because they can't draw, which is rubbish. Any child can draw, and any child is hugely creative. Even messing around with finger painting. There's a creativity in every form of every art form, no matter what it is, and to a large degree that becomes suppressed. If we were to allow ourselves, even as adults, and this is another reason for my being the expression workshops, which sadly haven't really taken off that well, but I'll persevere. In that it helps us to develop that latent inner creativity that we all possess, and that we've, for the most part, denied throughout our lives. We seem to think that being an artist is somehow like a profession, and that we're not cut out for it. Gosh, it's such a limiting, it's such limiting thinking, that because if we were to simply acknowledge, I am artistic, I am creative, whether or not we pick up a paintbrush and tackle a canvas and try and draw something or paint something, whether or not we do that, and whether or not it's successful, well, that's all a bit moot. But anyway, acknowledging our inner creativity can only enhance whatever vocation we have, career we might have, because any form of art and of creative expression unlocks those reserves that we have, those reserves of potential that we have, because it ignites our creativity and allows us to observe differently and interpret differently in all aspects of life. So not just in terms of here, what I'm doing, for example, but in so many different ways, in all facets of life, to allow that creativity to come out, and not to deny it, because by denying it we restrict ourselves from possibility. So I choose to teach that, how to unlock that expression. That's my kind of mission with adults as well as children, and more importantly with children, to not let go of that and to keep that fire burning bright. It's so important not to inhibit kids at an early age, to let them continue if they feel the urge to, and whether or not later on in their schooling career they choose to pursue it or not is not really relevant, because they've learnt that capacity to express themselves. And telling kids that they aren't artistic and that they should be doing something else or focusing on something else, whether it be sport or whatever, is very, very inhibiting. It's the worst form of suppression of the creative essence, in my humble way of thinking. But so I seek to help people to re-engage with that. Because we have this, so many of us have this mental block against things, against being artistic and being expressive, and we inhibit our capacity to express freely and creatively because we've denied that within us, or we have been denied it, or allowed ourselves to deny it. I'm waffling on here, but it's something which I'm fairly passionate about, in fact very passionate about, and it's such a pity to see. It really is, when I hear of kids at school being told that they're useless at art. And I've seen instances where they're actually very good in my mind, and yet because the teacher at school has told them otherwise, or judges their work according to the way they think is right and wrong and what have you. And then tells the child that, and they develop this limiting pattern of behavior. And that not only applies to the danger of that is that it doesn't just apply to the fact that whether they're an artist or not, or have a capacity for being arty or not. It begins to inhibit their ability to express creatively. And that is bloody dangerous, if you ask me. And that's what I don't like. And I hear that. And I hear of that happening in schools and what have you. From the moment that a child begins school to whenever they choose, their artistic capacity should be encouraged and developed and helped, because it's important. It's that important. It's important to their careers, whatever it might be that they get into later on in life. It's important to their very being. And it's important to our very being as well. So yes. Anywho, I'll stop that for a moment. So here I'm just busy working up the hues of blues, Huey Lewis and the News. Hues of blues and greens and what have you, just to, because obviously when you look at the ocean, it's not one color. We think, the ocean is blue, the sky is blue, or the ocean is green and the sky is blue, or whatever the case may be. But if we really take time to ponder, as the ocean invites us to do, we start to realize that there are many different facets of color. Of reflected color and refracted color. If we took a scoop, a glass of seawater out, it's not blue, is it? Perhaps it's murky. It's got saltiness in it, or whatever the case is. What do you think the white is in the water, or these pepperminty kind of colors? That's because it's been aerated, and it's very salty, and it's been stirred up, or wherever. We get different colors in the ocean. Sometimes we'll get this yellowy look, or a brownish look, and that's because the soil on the ocean bed has been disturbed and churned up and what have you. So we get these different, or a river has come down in flood and disgorged into the ocean, changing the color. So it's never the same. Time of day, the angle of the sun changes the color. Whether there's wind or strong currents, the color changes. It's all, just as much as it's changing here, as there's different swirls of currents and what have you that are going on all the time. And when we look down straight into the water, almost from above, from a sort of a 80-degree angle, we're looking straight into the water, into the depths, and there perhaps it's dark blue just down here. As much as the eye starts to lift to the more sort of perhaps 45-degree mark, it changes color, because we've got more reflections and less refraction. We're not looking into the water so much as our line of sight is bouncing off and reflecting what's above as much as what's on the surface. So these are the things that what brings it out, what comes out for me and during these sessions is how we observe and how we interpret. You know, I've just been interpreting to you my observation, but we do that all the time to ourselves as well, without actually acknowledging what it is that we're interpreting and how and why we interpret in a certain way. That's the stuff that's quite important, isn't it? So, yes, I do tend to warble on about these things because they are kind of important, and this is my opportunity to divulge to those that whoever wants to know. And for that reason I invite comment, and I invite observations of your own on this platform, on my channel, on my videos, whatever it is, whatever it might be. Do share your observations. That's what this is all about. It's the reason I do these. It's one of the main reasons I do these sessions, why I share them. Number one, it is to capture my own observations, and second of all, to share them. So you'll see here that the my treatment or my technique is very different from here, because I'm feeling what I'm observing. I'm feeling this kind of glossy ocean, this changing facets of blue and green and reflections and so on. Disturbances in the water, but it's gentle, it's hushed, it's calm, it's so on. Here on this side we've got this harsh rock, requires a different energy, and how these two meet and where they meet. Just using a little bit of chalk pastel here, white as well, just to soften the intensity of the blue for a little. All of this is very horizontal, all of this is very vertical, and all of this is very kind of flat and non-directional, because it's right in front of us. Over there in the distance, it's much further away, there's a different treatment. Well, that's the best way I can explain it in this moment, because it's what I'm feeling. Yes, so we're making good progress today. There's about 5 minutes left for today's session. I'm keeping these sessions to 45 minutes because I don't think it will require more than one, or perhaps even at the most 2 more sessions, thus being able to complete within the week. little by little by little. I'll just start today bringing in a little bit of this dark sort of olive green, but quite subtly. I don't want to overpower with it, and this is just to kind of show where the foliage is, and as I was explaining yesterday or in the previous session, it's mostly fynbos, but I'm not going to illustrate it per se. It's not about that. It's just the indication of greenery, of this dark foliage that sparsely inhabits this very rocky habitat. Surrounds almost just a hint of it, really. It's just there because it is very dry. And fynbos is pretty much the only vegetation that you find in this particular region. It kind of gets itself into the cracks and crevasses, establishes itself in this very dry, arid landscape perfectly well. This is Protea country as well. Coastal, mountainous, dry, windswept. Right, I think we're done for today, for this session. Made some decent progress, and I shall continue again during the next one and maybe finish it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but nevertheless, thank you for joining today. I really appreciate it, and for those of you who seek to share and comment and like, thank you very much. Thumbs up. I do appreciate it. And to any new happenings upon my channel, thank you and welcome, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. And please subscribe, like, comment, bell icon, etc., etc. So yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, I bid you until the next one. I bid you oodles and oodles of toodles, and catch you again next time, folks. So meantime, be good, be kind, be gentle, be caring, be loving, etc., etc., and catch you again soon. Bye, folks. And don't forget to doodle.